Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm coming at you to give you some resources that I found and I really enjoyed to help educate you on Black history and Black culture. With the murder of George Floyd, I really knew it was time that I needed to educate myself. I was seeing posts and I had no idea, or was just fully sheltered or wanted to be oblivious about things that were going on in the world, and I know that that needs to change. So I've taken it upon myself to educate myself, because the biggest thing is we shouldn't be reaching out trying to get someone else on Twitter to educate us, or just using somebody else's voice. We really need to learn ourselves. So last week I read 3 books that I would highly recommend to you guys. 2 of them were for the Blackout buddy read, and the other one had just come on my radar through my group of friends talking about it. So the first one I read was White Fragility. There is some racial slurs in this book, and if you've been on Twitter, there's arguments, not for using it, but essentially there's a group of people that really think that it shouldn't be in this book, that it's a white person writing the book and it's very disrespectful. And then there's another camp that says that it needs to be in the book because it helps us see what history was and shows us how uncomfortable it makes us feel, and that we need to educate ourselves that that is not correct. So before you read it, do your research and see if it's right for you to read. But I did really enjoy that one. So it is written by a white woman who has done a lot of Black studies and studies in racism. So she does come at it as a white perspective and really talks about the white supremacy. You definitely feel uncomfortable because you're supposed to. There's so much white supremacy and white power in the world, and you can completely bury your head in the sand and be oblivious to it, or you can get uncomfortable and know that something needs to change. One thing I really learned in all of these books is saying someone is a racist is making them sound like they're the most horrible person in the world, but we really need to view racism as a systematic power instead of a person being bad, because it is so much more than one person's voice. It is actually the backbone of what America is built on. One of the statements that I wrote down is, if you are white, your opinions on racism are most likely ignorant. And it was 100% true. This week I really realized how ignorant I was. She also really focused on colorblindness and saying I don't see color, I see everyone as the same. And people feel like they're being anti-racist by saying that, but it's actually the opposite. You're just whitewashing everything and not realizing that systematic change needs to be made. So I really enjoyed that view, because you're well, I love everyone equally. That's not going to change things. That's the same as staying silent and not using your voice to fight to actually be anti-racist. So I really enjoyed that one. The next one I read was How to Be, or I listened to all 3 of these actually. It was How to Be an Anti-Racist. The one thing, the first thing I wrote down was denial is the heartbeat of racism. And I totally think it's true. We need to focus on the power instead of the people. We need to change the policies. I really thought that was totally a big point of the book. We are supporting institutionally racist policies by supporting those who are in power and proceed to make them. The source of racism is self-interest. So I really, from How to Be an Anti-Racist, really realized how we need to make sure that the people we're electing in power, from the smallest to the biggest, need to support the deals of anti-racism, that want to change the laws to make them more equal and fair. And then the last one I listened to was White Rage, and this one had so much history that I was blown away from. There's so much education on the history on Black history that's just completely left out. I had no idea so many things happened. The Black codes I didn't really understand until I read that. Even today there's still completely racist policies that make so people who live in primarily Black neighborhoods can't vote as easily as someone in a primarily white neighborhood. Like, things have not changed, and our country's been around for how long? I really learned a lot about education and like voting rights from White Rage. I thought that was really interesting. There's a couple fiction books I also really liked because I feel like you get to like be in the footsteps in the mindset a little bit more. The first one is The Hate You Give. That one broke me. It just, till you get to like hear somebody's actual insight into life, I don't think you fully understand. And The Hate You Give and also On the Come Up were so amazing. I really implore you to just pick those up. The writing is awesome. The story is just heartbreaking and educational, and I really, really enjoyed both of those. The other one was With the Fire on High. I really enjoyed that one. So above all, just educate yourselves. Find books, read diverse authors, and it doesn't necessarily have to be nonfiction. I think you can learn a lot from fiction books as well, but if you feel like me and you feel like our education system failed us in our country's history and Black history, you know, pick up some of those nonfiction books. They have been mind-blowing. I know White Rage is on Scribd, so my link for Scribd is below, but do what you can to educate yourself so that we can make the change. Just make sure that you're not silent. Make sure that you are actively making a change, because staying silent or saying you're not racist isn't going to get anybody anywhere. We're going to live in a world that's been the same since the country began, and that is not acceptable. If you have any other educational resources that you've really enjoyed that I should look into, I would love if you link them below, and I will see you in the next video.